conversation about a week ago, so I remember that. So fast on.
Time to silence your cell phones. We've got just enough time to do that. Okay, it's 6:30, so we're going to get underway. We have a really large program tonight with a lot of candidates. So, welcome to the 2024 General Election Forum sponsored by the Chamber Alliance for Mason County in partnership with the Ludington Daily News, Mason County Press, and Synergy Media. I'm Steve Benash. I'm your moderator for tonight's program. Kick me if I fall asleep or anything, but questions will be asked by Rob Alway, Lois Tomczewski, and Steve Ruba. Those are going to be later on tonight. The first part of the program won't have questions. It'll just be the local candidates making statements about their candidacy. If you have questions for the other races, the state and federal races, is there somebody collecting questions? Okay. Okay, Brandy and Mindy will be collecting questions, so either you guys are going to walk around later on something. But the sooner you submit them, the better it is. So, and when we get, there's a big schedule, and we have limited time, so candidates, and keep your questions very succinct and to the point, keep them fair. And then candidates, please answer as kind of slicely as possible too. I was asked, are we doing hard time? It's pretty hard. We're not turning off mics, but Kristen up here will be the timer, and she's gonna be trying to get your attention. So finish your thought. You don't have to stop immediately, but finish your sentence. Maybe I should say, because sometimes thoughts are longer than sentences. And we're going to start with local races tonight, and we will progress. I want to note, I see Cheryl Kelly's here, our Mason County Clerk. I sent her a question which you might want to share tonight, and there's 2 early voting sites you need to know about. The City of Ludington site at the City Hall Council Chambers. I should put my glasses on. Oh, there's something wrong. And that's only for City of Ludington residents. So all the rest of the county, early voting site is at the Custer Township Hall. Early voting starts October 26th, through Sunday, November 3rd, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. at each location. And I can't sound like Clerk Kelly, but she wanted to send a huge thank you to all the election inspectors for assisting with this election. It takes an army, she said. And she added, voters, be patient when you come to the polls, and they've been long lines. So there's a lot of interest this year again. Online, there's a variety of sources of information. One of my favorite is, if you want to see your ballot before you go to the poll, is Michigan Secretary of State's website, mi.gov. Go to voting and elections in Michigan and look for your voter information. It'll tell you your status. It'll tell you how to get absentee ballots, and you can print out your own ballot in your precinct. It's very handy. You don't want to go in there and be surprised that there's Michigan State candidates, and there's all these other candidates that we won't be talking about tonight. We're only doing contested races tonight too, so are there any candidates for office here in non-contested races? If you are, please stand up for a minute. We'll just recognize that you're here. There's got to be a few, yeah, sure. Thank you all. So if you want to talk to any of them after, they're here. And finally, in our form of government, citizens actually take part, and they can help run it by seeking and being elected to office and voting. On behalf of all the sponsors, I think I can thank everybody who stepped forward to run. It's very important. And thank you all for coming. So let's begin. We're going to start with the Mason County Central School Board. And if those candidates would come forward, there are 5 candidates, I think it's for 3 Oh, 4 candidates. No, 5 candidates. And I didn't do my homework, right? How many seats there were. Do you guys know how many seats you're running for? 3 seats, okay, I thought it was 3. And we're going tonight in alphabetical order. Usually I do coin flips, but I figured my thumb might get a carpal tunnel if I did this many coin flips. So we're going in alphabetical order. So Nicole Burkett could not attend, so the candidates before you tonight are Oscar Davila, Margaret Greiner, Nicole Charetz, and Stephanie Cicadas. So we'll start with Oscar.
Good evening.
2 minutes, by the way, I'm sorry.
Good, 2 minutes. Good evening, thank you for this opportunity to participate and introduce myself. My name is Oscar Davila, write-in candidate for Mason County Central School Board. In addition, I am a current member of the MCC Board of Education, having served 1 term. My dedication to collaborating with all stakeholders to improve the district and enhance the school experience for our staff, parents, and future leaders is my driving force. I've had the privilege of residing in Mason County for 25 years, all within the MCC school district. I've been fortunate to witness my daughter's academic and athletic success while at MCC, culminating in her graduation in 2024 and her moving on to college for her academic and athletic future. Both goals she earned while at MCC. My goal is to give back to the staff and the district that had given my daughter a wonderful start in life. I have proudly committed my life to public service, having first served in law enforcement at the Mason County Sheriff's Office for 25 years, my entire career, rising to my current position as Chief Deputy, overseeing our patrol operations, including our well-respected school resource officers. It is my belief that public education is not just about imparting knowledge, it is about shaping the future leaders of our nation. It is well established that when staff feel supported, that translates into students that feel supported and who will care about their future success. This will culminate with parents that support the district and become involved in all levels of the district. I am confident that I can carry out a vision that works with all to achieve this goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Oscar. Now Margaret Greiner.
Good evening. My name is Margaret Greiner. My maiden name is Hanson. I grew up in south of Scottville and graduated from MCC. I won't date myself. I have many fond memories and experiences from going to school at MCC. Went to Riverton. Just like many of you, I wear many hats. I'm a daughter, a mother, a grandmother, a friend, and a therapist. My son is grown now, but I have 18 years of experience of IEP meetings and working with staff to get my child the services that he needed and was entitled to. I was a very involved parent in my children's schools. I moved back home 3 years ago and started attending school board meetings as I heard there was a failed bond attempt. And there was another vote for a second bond request. As I have been attending school board meetings and talking with people in the community, the common thing that I hear is a bond will never be passed with this administration. There are 3 open seats this year on the MCC school board, and in 2026, there will be 4. The status quo MCC for the past 19 years is not going to pass any bonds. When I walked into the high school library for a school board meeting, I saw the same library that had not changed since I graduated. Taxpayers' money is not being spent to maintain what we have. School education scores need to be improved. There needs to be transparency, accountability, and integrity. When someone or parent has concerns, issues, or questions, they want and they deserve answers. If I'm elected to the MCC school board, I will continue to be a voice for all stakeholders of MCC school district, a voice for those who are afraid to speak up. I'm a very experienced problem solver. I don't have all the answers, but I'm very resourceful and will find the answers. And I'm not afraid to ask the hard questions and will not give up until we get acceptable answers and solutions. So I'm asking for your vote as a write-in candidate for MCC School Board, please. Thank you.
Scheretz.
Hello and good evening. I am Nicole Scheretz, and I'm on the ballot for one of the 3 open seats on the Mason County Central School Board. I have resided in Mason County for the past 20 years. I am married. We have 2 wonderful children. Our son is a freshman, and our daughter is a senior at Mason County Central, and she's also dual enrolled here at West Shore Community College. I have been employed with the Michigan Department of Natural Resources for 22.5 years. Most of my career has been spent at the Flat River State Fish Hatchery in the fish production section, where we raise salmon and walleye to be stocked in the public waters of Michigan. As a candidate for the school board, I come with no personal agenda, only a genuine commitment to serving our students, teachers, support staff, and community. I approach this role with an open mind, a willingness to listen, and a desire to learn from all perspectives. I want to be part of raising, supporting, nurturing, and providing the best education and educational environment for the next generation. My focus will be on key issues that impact the success of our schools, ensure the safety of our children, securing the funding necessary for quality education, recruiting and retaining dedicated teachers, and implementing effective policies that benefit everyone. I believe in transparency, integrity, accountability, collaboration, and putting the needs of our students first. With your support, we can work together to build a strong and safe learning environment. I humbly ask for your support and vote on November 5th. I am excited to bring a fresh and thoughtfulness approach to our school board. I just also wanted to mention that yesterday in the Ludington Daily News, they published candidate questionnaires, questions, and my responses were not in there. In the publishing, formatting, and production phase, they somehow got missed. But tomorrow they'll be in the newspaper, and I'm pleased that they are making it right. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicole. Now, Stephanie Stakinas.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Stakinas. I'm a write-in candidate for Mason County Central School Board for one of the 3 positions that are open. I am a lifelong resident of Mason County. I attended MCC. I graduated in 1998. I have been actively attending the school board meetings for about 4 years now, and I wanted to stay connected and informed. So by running for the board, I'm hoping to continue to be an advocate for students, staff, and the community. MCC staff and the district as a whole holds a special place for me, not only because I attended there, but because my daughter goes there. She is a freshman in the high school. The school and so many staff members have gone above and beyond through the years to accommodate the needs of my daughter Mallory, and this is just another way for me to give back and to propel MCC into future generations. Some topics that I think the district is facing are staffing shortages and staff retention, community support for the bond for the much needed repairs that we need, funding to keep the Mason County Sheriff's SRO collaboration going, and I want to dive into understanding our food service program a little bit better. My plan is to work with the other board members to create a bond that the voters can stand behind and support by taking past data and continuing to talk to those in our community and at the school. It would be great to connect with other staff members as well to figure out what their opinions is on why we have such staff shortages. Staffing shortages is actually something that's across the state, probably across the country. And then as far as the food service, I would love to see more whole foods and look forward to learning more about the process and the choices that are made. My top priorities are ensuring a safe and healthy learning environment, parental rights and education, and my platform is driven by my experience as a parent in the district. And, sorry, I'm reading my notes. I would be honored to serve on the board. I have past experience of about 7 years in education myself, so I feel like she's telling me to stop. Anyways, I would love your vote for as a write-in candidate.
Thank you, Stephanie. These are your candidates for Mason County Central School Board. Thank you. Next up is Ludington Area School District School Board candidates. There are 5 candidates seeking 2 open seats. 2, Leona Ashley and Mike Winchesky, announced they couldn't be here. We have with us Scott Foster, Brian McCormick, and Alan Newstronger. I should say Mike Winchesky sent a message saying he is teaching in Wisconsin tonight, so that's why he's not here. Okay, so Again, it's alphabetical order. We'll start with Scott.
Good evening. My name is Scott Foster. I was born and raised in Ludington. I am a proud graduate of Ludington High School. I had 2 daughters that have graduated from the district, and I have a 2nd grader who's still in the district. I'm up for re-election this year, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some of my experiences on the board. When I first got on the board, I had been informed that the RI program had been eliminated by the ESD. I don't know if you're familiar with the RI program, but it serves high-need students. And I couldn't figure out why they would eliminate such a program. So throughout a series of meetings with ESD, we were able to get that RI program reinstated. Special ed's always been kind of a area of interest for me because my wife's a special ed teacher. And also I'm pretty big on safety. I'm an employee of the Michigan County Sheriff's Office where I've been for 25 years now. In my time at the Sheriff's Office, I've served on the Safe Schools Initiative Committee. And in that committee, we train staff in ALICE protocol. We also assist school districts in developing their EOPs, their emergency operation plans, and we assist with lockdown drills. So when I first started on the board, I realized our EOP was non-existent. Ludington area schools did not have an emergency operations plan. So I worked tirelessly to get that plan in place and make sure our students and staff were safe. If re-elected, I plan on continuing to work to achieve goals in safety and also continue to fight for some of our students with the highest needs in our district. Thank you.
Hello and good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to introduce myself. My name is Brian McCormick and I'm running for Ludington School Board. 13 years ago, my wife and I were standing on Stearns Beach and decided that Ludington would be a perfect place to start our family and raise our kids. Having both grown up in metropolitan areas, we love the small town community Ludington provided. As a parent of 4 children, I am 100% invested in our local school district. But over the past few years, I have become frustrated, disappointed, and concerned about the direction of our district. When we first moved here, my oldest daughter was just starting 3rd grade at Foster Elementary. I remember meeting Miss Peggy and the principal at the time, the Friday before school started, because my wife had just gotten a job here. They took their time and they showed us around the school. They helped my daughter find our locker in her classroom. I instantly felt like part of the community. And then never from that day again worried about her health and safety in school, because I knew they were there and I knew they cared. And I will always be grateful for that. But since the new elementary school has opened and the renovations on the middle school and the high school have started, the community feeling, that welcoming feeling, has faded away. I feel more like I'm going to pick someone up that was just released from prison than to my child's school. I'm not a politician. I'm a dad, I'm a teacher, I'm a taxpayer, and I'm a proud member of this community. My love for our community and concern about our district is the reason that I am running. 6 years ago, I would have said our district is one of the best in the area, but I no longer believe that to be true. Our children deserve the best education possible. We have to do better. Our students deserve better, our teachers deserve better, our community deserves better, and I would love the opportunity to change the direction of the school board. Thank you for considering me as a candidate for the school board. Again, I'm Brian McCormick.
I want to thank the Chamber for hosting this event tonight. Also thank everybody for coming out this evening and learn more about all of the candidates. Being an informed voter is just as important as voting itself, so thank you all for coming out tonight. If elected to the Ludington School Board, I'm going to work to increase communication and transparency while also engaging our stakeholders in the process so they can help shape what they want Ludington schools to look like. As an elected official, I don't think it's my job to get into office and necessarily dwell on my own personal ideas, views, and beliefs. As an elected official, it's my job to represent our stakeholders and to be their voice. When I say stakeholders, I don't just mean the voters who put me into the office. Yeah, I'm going to represent the voters, but I'm also going to represent our teachers, our staff, our students, the parents, the guardians, the taxpayers, and make sure that they are all engaged in the process. We also need to look at teacher satisfaction at Ludington area schools. It's at an all-time low right now. 72% of teachers in Ludington schools right now say they're not happy with the climate and culture. Only 11% say they're happy with their jobs. We have to find out why that is. We need to create a culture for our teachers where they feel valued, heard, and respected. We need to take care of our teachers so they can take better care of our students. We also need to prioritize school safety. We need to be working with our state lawmakers to ensure that we have permanent funding for our school resource officers. And when we talk school safety, we also need to create a culture where there's a zero tolerance towards bullying, intimidation, and threats from everyone. As I wrap up my comments tonight, I want to point out that I am supported and endorsed by our local teachers through the Michigan Education Association, and I'm the only candidate running for Ludington School Board that is endorsed by both the Mason County Republican Party and the Mason County Democratic Party. That shows that I'm truly the candidate who will represent everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott, Brian, and Ellen, 3 of the 5 candidates for Ludington area schools. Next up is Ludington City Council 5th Ward. We have Wally Kane and Mike Shaw with us tonight. And they are...
Thank you to the Chamber Alliance and our local media for sponsoring this forum, and to all of you for being here to listen to the candidates. My name is Wally Kane, and I am running for re-election to the Ludington City Council representing the 5th Ward. I live behind the hospital with my wife Carla. I am the IT director at Floracraft. I have 2 children. My daughter Becky lives in Ludington and works as an EMT. My son is a biology professor in Defiance, Ohio. I believe that truth, transparency, and communication in government are essential. From my experience, I know that city operations are honest and open. Meetings are public, comments are welcome. Agendas, minutes, contact information, live streaming and recordings of council meetings are all on the internet. We rotate monthly to talk to constituents in a local coffee shop. I have never missed a turn there. And I have a handout with election information for 5th Ward voters and more details about my experience as a public servant. When making decisions, I keep an open mind, considering all information presented. I conduct research, talk to residents, and listen to the other councilors' opinions before I vote. For instance, when a property owner asked for help, I went to her house to get more information and see how a solution might impact neighboring properties. Ultimately, a city ordinance and permitting process was developed to meet her needs and others citywide. For the past 15 years, I've served our city and county governments in many capacities and volunteered for several organizations to make Ludington a great place to live, work, and play. It's a place that I'm proud to call home. I am honored and grateful to the 5th Ward residents for their support. I think I'm the best candidate to represent them and hope they re-elect me so I can continue serving them on the Ludington City Council. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Mike Shaw and I'm running for 5th Ward City Council. I'm standing up for children, families, schools, seniors, law enforcement, fire, EMS, business, and affordable housing. I just honorably retired from the Michigan Department of Corrections after 36 years. 16 of those years has been as a trades instructor, providing job skills for soon-to-be-released offenders in order to help them obtain gainful employment upon re-entry back into the local community. I have been serving on the Mason County Planning Commission for the last 10 years, and I am the current chairman. I have been also serving with the Mason County Parks and Rec Commission for the past 10 years, and we're promoting beautiful trails, venues, and upkeeping of our wonderful parks. And I have served on the Ludington City Charter Commission. I have attained my Master Citizens Planner Certificate from the Michigan State University Extension Program. And I have been volunteering with the local homeless shelter since 2017 in multiple capacities. My wife, daughter, and myself also host an annual backpack giveaway where we provide backpacks and school supplies to our children. And I have been endorsed by our sheriff, Kim Cole, who does a great job. Thank you, sir. Okay, so what sets me apart? I believe that our city can do a better job of communicating with our citizens. We need to let our residents know about important pending decisions that will affect them before they're being made. We need to listen to our citizens and engage them in the decision-making process, and we also need to let them express their views. I believe I can do a better job with openness and transparency. This means making decisions in an open forum with citizens' participation and involvement and not apart from the citizens. We need counselors who are approachable and will listen. I am approachable. You can contact me on Mike Shaw for City Council. I'm for school resource officers. I'm for our seniors. I have 6 senior complexes in my ward. So I appreciate your vote. I also am for good paying jobs and affordable housing. Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
So next up is the Hamlin Township Supervisor. 2 people are running for the seat that Supervisor Nancy Vandervest chose not to run again for. It's a 4-year term. The candidates are Marta Greenslate and Drew Pohl, and Drew I do not believe is here, so Marta, the floor is all yours when you're ready.
I'd like to thank everyone for attending tonight. It means a lot that I get to come up and speak and introduce myself. My name is Marta Greenslate, and I am running for Hamlin Township Supervisor. As I have been going door to door to introduce myself the last few weeks, a lot of people have asked, who am I? They seem to know my husband, but not me. So who am I? I'm a simple farm girl from the Thumb. My parents were crop farmers, and I have 3 amazing sisters. In our family, on our 10th birthday, it was always a big deal. We got to get our ears pierced, and we had to start working on the farm when we were not in school. So that just tells you how much hard work and dedication has been instilled in me. I moved to Hamlin Township almost 20 years ago when I married my husband, and Hamlin is going to be our home for many more years to come. My career path has been in the telecommunications industry in the Detroit area. I worked my way to be a project manager responsible for multi-million-dollar contracts, and I'm also a small business owner. I have years of experience in building customer service relations, creating and balancing budgets, and also problem solving. I have been involved with the Hamlin Township for a few years now, and I'm currently serving on the Planning Commission and also the Board of Review. As I get more involved, I notice there's a large gap in transparency and communication breakdown. The voices of Hamlin Township residents need to be heard, as all the decisions made by the board affects their lives, their livelihood, and the economic health of our community. I believe my experience in leadership, management, and customer service, I am able to bring the board and the residents together to work cohesively to address our current pain points, identify obstacles, and create a roadmap on what we can accomplish in the next 4 years. What sets me apart? I am very dedicated, hardworking, reliable, and ready to establish trust in our township again, and I always show up no matter how difficult the situation. Being the township's manager comes with a lot, being the township supervisor comes with a lot of responsibility. I do not take this position lightly, and I have been preparing for the victory on November 5th. Over the last few months, I have started taking numerous courses through the Michigan Township Association and working through the Supervisor Series of books. I have attended the regional meeting at Lincoln Hills a few weeks ago, and currently I am enrolled in the Citizen Planner course through the MSU Extension. I have been networking with many individuals in our community. I have received excellent guidance from business leaders and those with years of experience in Mason County governance. Hamlin Township is a very unique place. It's why we chose Hamlin, many people have chose Hamlin as their home or their destination. We need to work together to preserve our land, our lake, and still empower homeowners to live their best lives. I look forward to serving all Hamlin Township residents in the very near future. Thank you.
So now we move on to Sheridan Township. Supervisor, 2 candidates are seeking the seat, Jeff Cormany and Kelly Crocker, and Kelly is here. I don't think Jeff is, so Kelly? Thank you, Kelly.
I may regret this, but I didn't write a darn thing down. My name is Kelly Crocker. I have owned property in Sheridan Township for 42 years. We had 2 cottages on Ford Lake that I ran a small business. We rented them out by the week in the summer. And then 15 years ago, I moved up here permanently. My husband lived back and worked in Muskegon. until he was going to retire, and I worked at Indian Summer for the assistant to the operations manager for my last 10 years of employment. We moved permanently to our house on Ford Lake when my husband got Alzheimer's. He had an early onset advanced Alzheimer's, so I retired early to take care of him. My background is I have an associate's degree in cost accounting. I have worked full-time for 47 years in 4 different manufacturing areas. Food processing, manufacturing of big, heavy cranes and hoists. I've worked in for Park Davis in the pharmaceutical area as a cost accountant. And then I worked for the point of purchase displays people in Grand Haven as a cost estimator and a cost accountant. I've been retired from Indian Summer for 5 years, and my husband passed away in February, so as my children say, you need someone to boss around, and that's why you're running. We have long since needed new blood in Sheridan Township. We have had the same people in year after year after year after year. And many of us have been going to the township meetings, and we want some change. We want fresh blood, and I feel like with my background in that I can do a good job. I feel like the 2 most important characteristics are honesty and integrity, and I feel that those are my 2 best qualities. I have no agenda. I don't owe anybody anything. I haven't promised anyone anything. I will learn how to do this job because so far the people I've asked hasn't been able to give me any guidance as to what to do, but the lady that was just up here, we connected, and she's going to help me get some information on becoming a supervisor. I feel like even though the other candidate has been a trustee for a while, that because I don't have any agenda and I haven't made anyone any promises, I'm the best candidate for the job. I think that's it.
Thank you, Now up is the Pure Marquette Township trustees. 5 candidates are seeking 4 seats, and I think they're 4-year terms. The candidates are Andrew Kevitz, James Nordlund, Henry Rasmussen, Ron Zabrowski, and Megan Tresnick. And I think we only have Ron and Megan here.
Yeah, Ron and Megan.
Okay. And so it's alphabetical order, so Ron goes first.
Thank you for being here tonight. My name is Ron Zabrowski. I've been on the township board for 4 years. I got elected in 2020. A little bit about myself. I'm a single parent. I have 2 adult daughters. One of my daughters has special needs. I'm proud to say I'm her caregiver. I own and operate a small business in the city. I've done so for 30 years. I maintain a small family farm I just can't get away from. It just seems to be another job. I've joined the fire department in PM Township while I was in high school. I served for 10 years. I served 2 terms on the planning commission in PM Township. I served over 20 years on the zoning board in the township. I currently am the trustee in finishing my first term, and I'm proud to say that I have never missed a meeting. Some of the things I have done, I've realized the need to get traffic congestion off the highway, and I created the PM Township Conservation Park, primarily focusing on the new river park. And if anybody's been out there to see that, it's been a tremendous success, and I'm quite proud of that. I currently serve on the Parks Commission and the Personnel Committee. Some of the things I'd like to do is follow through with the South Bobby Bride Pass around Family Fair over South Pure Marquette Highway. One of the things that one of my brainchilds I've come up with is we have a tremendous problem on North Jababi that affects everybody in the county. And it's right off of North U.S. 10 on Jababi. In the summertime, you'll get 3 traffic light cycles that you have to wait to get through that intersection. I'm sure everybody's experienced that. I've come up with an idea. The MDOT, the sheriff has been involved with meetings to try to alleviate this problem, and I've come up with an idea that we can bypass through the airport, and I've done nothing but come up with problems with the county primarily that won't allow it, but I won't take it no as an answer, and I keep pushing it. Our biggest problem is the FAA. They're telling us what we can do in the airport zoning, but we've got a bigger problem in PM Township that we need to take care of that intersection because it's going to do nothing but get worse. Primarily as much as the township is going to grow, that's just going to become more of a problem. One of my biggest concerns in this election is I'm running as a Democrat, and PM Township is primarily a Republican township, 70%, and 30% of our people that voted in our last presidential election voted straight party ticket. These issues that we deal with in PM Township are not partisan issues. I wish people wouldn't vote partisan in my position. They vote for the person, and I hope you would consider me and let me continue on for another 4 years. Thank you.
I'm really rethinking my font choice on this and the size. Okay. My name is Megan Tresnick, and I am running for PM Charter Township trustee. I am a wife and mom of 3 kids. I have a 7, 5, and 2.5-year-old, and by job I was a registered nurse. I stopped doing that back in 2019 when we had our second child. Back in 2020, I was appointed to take the vacated seat for the trustee position for the Pere Marquette Charter Township, and I served for 4 months. I ran as a no party affiliation, and the straight ticket vote did not help me on that one. And since then, I have stayed on with Planning Commission and zoning. I currently chair the zoning Board of Appeals for the township. I have been staying in the know on topics facing the township throughout the last 4 years, and I feel that the addition of a younger trustee would be beneficial to the township. My priorities are to allow for more transparency. I would like to get 2+ newsletters sent out each year that have dates and times for board meetings, as well as the Planning Commission meetings for the township. These newsletters would also explain certain topics that are going on within the township, because I don't feel like that's really, a lot of the citizens don't really know what's going on within the township all the time. In closing, I strongly believe that I would be an asset to the Pere Marquette Charter Township Board as a trustee. I believe that change is good and beneficial. I am not an incumbent, and that should be seen as a positive. I am a wife and mom of 3 kids, which gives me a different perspective and new ideas. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you will vote for me for Pere Marquette Charter Township trustee on November.
Thank you, Dr. Megan. 5 candidates for Pere Marquette Charter Township. I had it in my notes, I just didn't say it. Okay, Sherman Township trustees are up next. We have 3 candidates: Lori Craig, Chelsea Mazewski, and William Stakanis. And the only one I checked in was William Stakanis. So, Bill? So alphabetically, you would have been last, so you're going last.
Hi, I'm Bill Stakanis. I own and operate Stakanis Farms with my brother and my wife and my son. My farm has been in Sherman Township for 104 years. We've milked cows. All of those years, we stopped milking cows in April of this year because we either had to grow a whole lot to be competitive or we had to downsize, and because of our age, my brother, I, and our wives decided it's time for us to slow down. So I've been involved with something since high school, from FFA to West Shore Community College, Student Senate, involved with our milk company. I served every position in our milk company through the board of directors. Michigan Milk is a $1 billion company that serves 3 states. Unfortunately, when you sell your milk cows, you can't participate in a milk co-op. So after leaving the co-op in April, I'm no longer involved with anything, and I'm interested in Sherburne Township because we've been there for over 100 years. I've been there my whole life. Would like to participate as a trustee, and I think I could do a good job. Thank you very much. My name is Bill Stakanis, and I'd like to join the politics part of things. So thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, now we move on to the next part of the forum, and if you have any questions, they will be walking around taking written questions. And this is where the panel gets in, so guys, you want to do calisthenics before you begin? All right. So first up we have well, let me read the rules for this part. So for State House and congressional candidates, they'll have opening statements of 2 minutes. There will be answers to questions of 1 minute or less. They don't have take-home time. I have discretion to allow or not allow rebuttals and limit time for those. And if somebody's opposition is not here, they get an extra time to respond to questions. So we start with 101st District Michigan House Representative. The candidates are Christopher Kane, a Democrat, John Fox, a Republican. History's here, John? Okay. Joseph, yes. I have it both ways. Okay, because it's alphabetical order, we will start with opening statement with Christopher Craig.
It's not going to open hard. All right, just quick to introduce myself. Well, first of all, I just want to thank everybody. I want to thank the college, the chamber, hosting the event. I want to thank everyone that's here, engaged citizens, and also other candidates for different positions. First of all, who am I? My name is Christopher Crane. I am a long-term representative of Wexford County. I was born in Flint, Michigan. I am the grandson and son of UAW workers. But my family actually has roots to northern Michigan, Wexford County, since the 19th century. In fact, I live 1.5 miles down from where my grandmother grew up on the farm. Okay? And we live on the very land that actually my grandparents worked very hard to be able to buy and to return home. So it's easy to say, and truthfully, it's easy to say that northern Michigan is in my blood. Some of my past history, some of my career choices. I am a veteran of the United States Army. I served as a paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne Division and the 1st of a 5-leaf Light Parachute Infantry Regiment when it was stationed in Panama, which was a long time ago. Shortly after that, I had a career in high-threat security. And the points of basically is individuals that were having problems, they contacted us. Right? We didn't lose any of our clients. Since then, I went back to education. A lot of education, unfortunately. Bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Eastern Michigan University. I also received a bachelor's degree from Michigan State University, and eventually to a master's in Western and a doctorate in anthropology from the College of William & Mary. Why am I actually running? Simple. 3 main things, but I'm going to stick to one because I'm already running out of time. The simple fact is I want to work hard to improve the quality of life for all Michiganders, and especially, obviously, the people that reside in the 101st District seat. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for being here. Thank you especially to the Chamber of Commerce. So a little bit about me. Number 1, I'm a Jesus follower. Number 2, I've been married for over 40 years and have 4 kids, 13 grandkids. And I have served in the House on the Family, Children, and Seniors Committee. And that will take me a little bit to what I've done in the last 40-ish years. Just previous to coming into the House, I was 7 years as the Newaygo County Commission on Aging Director. Think Meals on Wheels, buses and vans, things down that line. So I was the director of that for our county. Previous to that, I was 25 years in Christian education. And there I taught and also was principal for about half and half of that time. I was raised in the Irish Hills in Michigan, and I often call myself a Michigan hillbilly, and that's because I grew up in a family that was not real educated. My parents, neither of them finished high school, so I was challenged by uncles to go to college and beyond. So my BA is from Spring Arbor in Psych and Philosophy of Religion. I have a couple masters, a Master of Divinity. I'm also a pastor. I have a Master's in Counseling from Western, and I have an Ed Leadership professional degree. I call it an ABD, all but dissertation. So I did that because of being in education. But I'm in this business to represent, number one, Jesus, number two, the people of the 101st District. And I spend a lot of time getting to know the people of the 101st District. And I much prefer being here in the district as opposed to Lansing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now I'll go to the question portion, and they'll be asked by our panel. We'll start with Steve Ruba, and we're going to flip order as we go of who answers first, but we'll start with Christopher Kane first right now. Steve?
All right. Am I coming through? Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Now, you're running for the State House, right? I want to make sure I don't ask any school questions or anything like that. But I'll tell you what, we've seen in Michigan, we've had worried wait staff that I've talked to at local restaurants, and they're very worried about this minimum wage law that just passed. And they say that they're worried that customers aren't going to tip them if they know that they're being paid more now. Does that concern you? Where do you stand on that issue? And if so, how would you change it?
Okay, well, first of all, minimum wage increase. I understand what you're saying, and there's been protests, obviously, at Lansing with concern that. My own personal experience is that where I live, most of the time, the wait staff don't get tipped that well anyways. Right? Okay, it's part of the issue. But I do support stabilization across the board of income, of the wage in general. But there are aspects of that that can work. Simply, a couple things we need to do. I understand that there's the issue that they might worry that people are not going to tip. I think eventually, when it becomes normalized, people will possibly start to tip more, behavior changes, that sort of thing. But also, I think it's important because I know there's a lot of issues that are coming from the business owners themselves. And part of that might also play into the fact that for those business owners, they might want to rethink at the state level some of the costs and the issues that they face, right? For example, one of the major issues for those that serve alcohol is we have a 65% markup automatically from the state on those, and they might want to review that markup, see if we lower that to help the cost that they might actually have to make up as well.
Thank you, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Same question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure, yes.
So my number one response is I think that a good decision was made back in 2018 where we set the minimum wage, what it is for wait staff, bar staff, dishwashers, etc. And my experience in talking to wait staff type people is they do not like this, and they have been making a whole lot more money than they would make otherwise. There is on the books also that they always will get paid minimum wage, for example, if there's a snow day or something going on. So it's not a new thing that's going on. What we have is an example of a Supreme Court decision, and it's legislating from the bench. And they laid out all the rules, and this doesn't only apply to minimum wage and tipping, but also to sick days. So there's a whole lot more going on with it. And we're calling upon our Democrat colleagues to work on this, and we hope something happens after the election. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Second question, we'll go to Lois, and we'll start with Representative Fox as the first answer.
Okay. How can this region attract higher paying jobs? What solutions or initiatives are you willing to suggest that would make this district more competitive?
That's a really good question, and I think that a lot of Michiganders are asking that because we're seeing a lot of people flee Michigan. And that's because of our taxes and other decisions that have been made in our state. So I wish I had the magic wand and could wave it, but I will say that it is important that we focus on our natural beauty, our tourism, and I know that Ludington is great at that. I know the whole 101st district, where we live, is very positive for that. So I would encourage us to keep on building on that. We also have to wrestle with housing. That's an issue all over the place too. And housing has got to be a cooperative thing. We have to bring together the local contractors, local government, along with other state possible connections. So it's a big issue, and it's going to take time and it's going to take work. And we dare not forget our agriculture. We are an agricultural hub in Michigan, and we need to keep on building on that.
Thank you. Christopher?
Again, following that, across the board, it's a major issue. And when you talk about competitiveness, you're talking about a very faceted economy that we have here in northern Michigan. One of the biggest things that we're sitting here, we're sitting at a community college, right? So one of the things that we have to become competitive and to actually get more companies that are maybe coming into the state and are interested is the fact is we have to increase, right, and make that, improve the education for our workforce, right? For example, we have dry spots still no matter what. Free education or free community college has been promised, but the problem is that falls short oftentimes. We have to expand the districts. We have to create initiatives to actually get companies that come in. In fact, I would actually, purposely like to see the fact that we initiate much more for businesses created by Michigan residents themselves. Also, you mentioned housing. Housing is important, and we need more affordable housing around, but we also need to remove the state preemption against actual local rent stabilization and rent control.
Thank you, Chris. Next question goes to Rob, and we'll start with Chris for the first answer.
Michigan public schools rely on local property tax millages to fund infrastructure, while 38 of 50 states provide appropriations to local school districts to construct facilities. Do you think it's time Michigan should find a different way to fund school infrastructure rather than through local property tax millages? Why or why not?
Okay, I have a long history in education, right? And again, I'm the one person that thinks we need to reinvest in our education. We kind of have to double down, and we can do that in multiple ways. I think that when you're talking about property tax for education, and I know that we had the Axe My Tax movement just a little while ago, I think we should maintain our property tax in that, but we might want to also think about increasing our corporate tax rate, at least in the short period, to help make up some of that. Also, the fact is just as simple because we need to refund. We actually need to invest more to actually lower the student to teacher ratio in the end. So that is going to require more funding as well. So maintain some of the funding we have, maybe find some new avenues, but also increase in appropriate places for that funding to be there and available.
Thank you, Chris. Representative Fox?
I guess number one, my quick response is I think that the buildings belong in the hands of the locals. And I will always argue to keep things local as much as possible. That way we have local control. What we saw happen this year with our school bus bill, the $22 billion bill, was a bait and switch by our government in Lansing. And it leaves things up in the air if we start to depend upon the state to provide funding, okay? So the bait and switch was very simply a promise that 3% would be removed from teachers having to pay for their health care. And then the switch was, oh, you don't get any increased allotment in your local school districts when the budget came out. So it's not real good to depend upon the state for funding.
Okay, thank you. Next question, we'll go back to Steve Rupa, and we'll start with Representative Fox.
All right.
Representative, there's a plan in the Michigan House to restore the earned income tax credit. Where do you stand on that issue and why?
Very honestly, I have not thought about that issue, and so I really don't have much to say about it, but thank you.
Okay. Chris, new question?
Earned income tax credit. I think it's necessary. At present, if you look at the United Way just put out a new informative Alice report, and basically the Alice report that identifies households that are struggling in the state of Michigan to make ends meet. And so basically, the state average is 41%. Right? 41% of the households in the state of Michigan are struggling to meet. In the 101st district, in the counties in which the 101st district is a part of, okay, that's on average, that's an assessed value of 47% actually. Okay, 47%. Mason County actually has the lowest at 42%, but Lake County actually has a 58% rate. 58%, okay, household struggling. Right? We need to change that. These are people that are suffering, they're wondering if they can have food, right? If they can afford their housing, if they can afford medical costs, if they can afford child care. So any help they can get is needed. That's half of this room.
Okay, thank you. Lois, next question, we'll start with Christopher for the first answer.
Do you believe that the interests of rural areas like those that we have here in Western Michigan are taken seriously by Lansing?
Do I think that rural areas are taken seriously in the concerns? No, not as much as they should be. I sit on my planning commission at Cedar Creek Township, okay? And all the time I hear a lot of times is simply that lawmakers in Lansing aren't listening to us, all right? For example, we know now that the preemption about the renewable energies, right? The large projects, the state preemption that's gone into effect, okay? My Cedar Creek Township as well knows about state preemption. We have a deep injection well, and we have a garbage dump, a landfill that takes on 14 counties' trash. We literally have toxic material being pumped under our water supply right now, okay? So I think, in truth, that more control needs to go back on a lot of these issues to the local governments, but also I think they really, really need to have good, solid, responsible, right, representation in there to make sure it happens. And they do listen, no matter what. You fight until they hear you.
Thank you. Representative Fox?
So the question is, are they listening to the rural counties? Very good. My quick response is no. And I think there's a lack of knowledge on the part of too many in Lansing about what goes on in rural townships and counties. For example, and this is more than just a rumor, our Ag Committee chairperson this year had to have the difference between sweet corn and field corn explained, okay, to her. I think that too many city folk, as I will call them, okay, and I married one, so I get them to a certain extent, okay? They think that things grow on the shelves at Meijer or Walmart or wherever. And to imagine not having all kinds of land out there, and to go with the windmills, which I know you have a few here, and with the solar farms, people in the cities don't get it. And they need to come and sit in my deer stand for a while.
Thank you. Last question for this round, for this particular race. So Rob, last question.
Should the state of Michigan regulate any part of local zoning? Why or why not?
And we'll start with Representative Fox.
Okay. So should the state regulate local zoning?
Any part of local zoning. Why or why not?
The short answer is no. I, again, am a strong believer in local control, and we need to keep that locally, and like, just think about short-term rentals, is one thing that's gone around in a lot of townships and a lot of areas. I assume that with this beautiful area in Ludington, it's probably been an issue too. That needs to stay local. The state gets their hands into it, and they want to get their fingers in our pockets along with it, okay? And we lose the control. So I think that zoning needs to stay local, and we need to build upon the good wisdom that we have locally. I mean, we can take a look and learn from MTA, Michigan Township Associations, and other situations, but things should stay local.
Thank you, Representative Fox. Christopher?
At the same time, I think there's times when the state can give good advice and best practices, what it sees across the board. But again, I myself, I think there still has to be a lot of room for the local governments to operate. Like I made the statement about the renewable energy, okay? That is one of our biggest current concerns. I've been to the MTA meetings about this, right? This renewable energy issues, this preemption, and there's a real concern there. When I'm talking about a township that deals with this large amount of trash coming from 14 different counties, the idea is that the township is possibly going to be abused again. Now, I do believe in renewable energy, but I think, again, that this change in the law needs to be altered yet again to give more authority back to the local government so it can make decisions for itself as well concerning what's going to happen in its backyard.
Thank you. Now we'll go to closing statements, and they're 1 minute, and we start with Mr. Kane.
Okay, closing our statement simply. Look, a lot of the issues that occur in Lansing, one of the biggest things I hear from my local community members is simple. About not having a voice about their own problems, about their own issues. We have to make sure that we have fair, respectable, and responsible representation in Lansing. And that representation needs to flip the script because it's the folks out here that actually makes policy. You have to be the source of the policy. They have to make sure they come talk to you, and they have to act. And whoever sits there, whoever gets sworn in on January, I would ask that they rededicate themselves and make sure they come and see you as much as possible to find out what's exactly troubling you, what issues you have, and they take that and they fight until they're exhausted in Lansing every day for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Fox.
I think as government, we need to address in every way we can inflation, the costs that are just rising and rising and rising. About $1,000 per month per family in the state of Michigan is what I keep hearing. That's $12,000 a year extra that we're spending. It's my first eye. My second eye is illegal immigration. We have a problem in our country, and I don't know how much it's hit Ludington. I know that Cadillac is more worried about it than Ludington, but third, we need integrity. That's my third eye. You know, we need people in office that we can trust, that we can call up, that we know that they will follow through. You know, and I'm all about the Make America Great Again theme, but I would argue number two, we need to make America good again, and we need to wrestle with what goodness is, what truth is, what righteousness is. And finally, I would argue we need to make America godly again. Great, good, and godly. We need a revival in this nation, and that's my biggest prayer, and I pray it often. And I pray it on the floor in the House, and I pray for specific individuals, day by day by day. So, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Representative Fox. Just in case anybody didn't know what I should have said in the first place, the 102nd District includes our most eastern townships and then goes east and I don't know how far, I get lost. 101st, yes, excuse me, 101st. I wrote 101st District for so many years, I can't get out of my head. But yes, thank you. And now up will be the 102nd Michigan District. Representative Kurt Vanderwall and his Challenger, Democrat Kathy Pellerin Mahoney. That serves the rest of Mason County. And
thank you, Kurt.
You're welcome. Okay, since it's by alphabetical order, Kathy Pellerin Mahoney goes first.
Well, thank you. Like everyone else, I'm pleased to be here, and I appreciate the Chamber and other stakeholders putting this on, because it's important to let folks know who their candidates are for office. My name is Kathy Pellerin Mahoney, and I'm your candidate for state representative in Michigan's 102nd District. The 102nd District goes along the west shore from Muskegon, the north part of Muskegon County, through the city of Manistee. So it's a beautiful place, and I like to say it's wonderful to drive because we have the shoreline, we have an interstate, we have asphalt on our streets, and we have street signs. And that's pretty important, you know, when you're going from point A to point B in a beautiful place. My husband, Ken, who's here, there's Ken. He and I reside in Montague. We have 2 children and 6 grandchildren. I have 2 son-in-laws that go with it, and they live nearby, which is a real blessing. I'm running for office because I believe democracy is on the line. The rule of law, research-based decision-making, our personal rights and our freedoms, all issues that I have worked a lifetime to put into place, they are on the line. My decades of public service as staff to elected officials, both state and federal, and as an elected college trustee for 7 years, and as the city clerk of the city of Muskegon, or excuse me, of Montague, not Muskegon, city clerk of Montague, and as a public nonprofit leader. They have all prepared me well to work for the people of Michigan's 102nd District, and my work in public interest for the common good has been always a benchmark of my career. So I'm not here to be someone to work for anyone in particular party. I work for everyone. I work for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Thank all of you for being here. Thank you for the crowd tonight. It's nice to see this many people that take this much time out of their evening to come and learn a little bit. My name is Kurt Vanderwall. I am the current state representative of the 102nd. I would like to remain there, and I'd like to have you vote for me and re-elect me November 5. I'm a proud husband of 40 years to my wife, Diane. Also proud parent of 3 children. All grew up in Ludington. I have a son-in-law and a daughter-in-law and 2 grandchildren, so I'm very excited about that. Very involved in the community, have been as a small business owner. Prior to that, I didn't own, I was the store director of Eberhard Foods, if everybody remembers that, and Prevost's Family Market. In the last 8 years, I've been involved with the legislature. So I'd like to continue that. Also serve currently on health policy, agriculture, and want to look forward to continuing that. And I chair, minority chair of higher education. So look forward to the questions tonight. Again, thank you for being here, and look forward to serving you again.
Thank you. We'll start our questions this round with Lois, and then we'll move to Rob. And the first answer will go to Kathy. So Lois.
Do you believe our elections are secure and that the results are accurate?
Thank you for that question. The question is, do I believe the elections are secure? And yes, I do. I was the former city clerk of Montague. I ran free and fair elections, unlike my opponent, who is an election denier, and sent a letter to Mike Pence asking him to not to certify the elections on January 6th. I was there to ensure that the elections were secure. Under Michigan law, our elections have inspectors from both parties. They self-identify as Republican or Democrat, and everything that they do inside that polling location and in an absentee ballot counting board is bipartisan. And so yes, they are secure, and we did have good results. Anyone who didn't believe they had good results probably should have resigned. Thank you.
Kurt? Thank you for the opportunity. Do I believe that we have secure elections? I do believe that our elections, at least locally, have been. Do I think there's areas that we have concerns? Absolutely. And I think we need to continue to work that way. I'm very proud to support the clerk that we have. She works tirelessly to make sure that we have several issues throughout the state of more people that are voting than are registered in an area, and those are the concerns that we have. We have a voter register guide from Michigan that needs to be updated. We need to continue to work on that to make sure that everybody in this room feels that every time they go to vote, it counts and it's not being tampered with.
Thank you. The second question goes to Rob, and we'll start with Kurt for the first answer.
Okay, this one's a little lengthy. It comes from a local school official. We often hear how school safety is a priority for our state legislators. Immediately after Oxford and MSU shootings, our state government put their money where their mouth is and provided funding to schools to shore up our safety infrastructure, supporting SROs and increase student access to mental health services at our schools. But in the 2024-2025 state budget, those funds were cut nearly completely, $300 million out of $325 million, a move that was split along partisan lines and signed by the governor. Only after being subjected to intense pressure from school districts and the media, a supplemental budget restored about half of that funding. We should not be waiting for another tragedy at school for future funding. What is your stance on school safety and how the state should have a role in funding school safety and mental health services?
Well, great question, and I will tell you I did vote no on that because we did cut $300 million out of that. When we made a promise to our school districts, we made a promise to parents that we were going to make sure that their kids were safe when they were in the school. And we took $300 million and threw it out the window to put it into pet projects that unfortunately don't do any good for any of us that are in this room. Now, what do we need to do? We need to follow and get back and make sure that we restore that $300 million, because otherwise it's going to fall on the backs of you if we want to have SROs in our school. The other piece of it was mental health funding that we have worked very hard to make sure has been taken care of, and we eliminated all but $26 million. So number one, I will tell you we'll work hard together to make sure that we restore that funding, and you can be assured that if they try to cut any more, I will vote against that.
Kathy?
As someone who worked for a nonprofit in Lansing for years, for 15 years, I worked on the state education budget and the school aid budget. I was familiar with all the appropriations members and made sure to educate the appropriations committee members and lawmakers. It wasn't lobbying, it was education. And one of the things that happened with the budget this year is there was a reduction in the revenues because those revenues were temporary, and Kurt knew they were temporary. His members, his colleagues knew they were temporary, and those monies were put in as COVID response to help kids with socialization. And those were federal monies. So what was cut were the federal monies that were temporary in the first place. The folks that had at their schools socialization and mental health programs that had preceded those temporary monies still had their programs. Now, when the Republicans voted on this measure in the Senate, we just had an extension. It was an amendment in the budget, and the Republicans chose not to give it immediate effect.
Kathy,
So I just wanted to mention that. So thank you.
The question was, what is your stance on school safety and how the state should have a role in funding school safety and mental health services?
Yeah, I think that the state should have a role in funding mental health services. And one of the things that I did in my career as the state director of Fight Crime, Invest in Kids, is we educated lawmakers to invest in programs that help kids get on track and stay on track to success and opportunity. One of the dire situations that I saw as a state director of Fight Crime, Invest in Kids was the death of Kayla Rowland, a second grader in Mount Morris Township 20 years ago at the hands of a second grade classmate who brought to school a handgun found under his uncle's bed and took it to school and shot his innocent second grade colleague classmate. That's why I also believe that we take personal responsibility, just not at the schools and asking school personnel to do that, but we as individuals have a responsibility to promote gun safety. I'm not talking about gun control. I'm talking about safety locks on your personal firearms, because we never know who's going to take a firearm from our house and go to school with it. Thank you.
Kurt, would you like to respond since you got another question there?
I think this is exactly what's wrong. We sit in here, we haven't got an answer from how we're going to restore the $300 million. We sit here and we forget to talk about the $670 million that was cut from the teacher's pension that comes to $1 billion out of our education system, and then we forget to talk about increasing the student funding. Let's get to the real nuts and bolts here. We can't continue to have a budget that we put pieces and parts of junk in there that waste money and we cut from our kids. If we're going to make our education, we got people that are running the school board here from Mason County Central, Mason County Eastern, and from Ludington that want to make sure our kids are properly educated. We are not taking care of our teachers. When we cut their pension with no figure a way to restore that money, once you break that system, we just continue to fall further and further behind in our pension. And you know what? We've got to take it and make sure that we restore this funding and make sure that the teacher's pension is secure. So otherwise, we're not going to have teachers to teach our kids.
Okay, thank you. Well, we're going to move on now. The next question goes to Steve Ruba, and the first answer goes to Kathy.
All right. This has nothing to do really so much with money, but it is a follow-up to the education arena that we were talking about. The law that required third graders to read at a certain level or be held back, that's been tossed out now. Where do you stand on that? Are you pleased about that?
I was there when they implemented that third grade reading law, and I sat through those committee hearings in the State House and Senate. I don't support them. I think it's arbitrary. What I do support is front-end loading the opportunity for kids with preschool for all to ensure that they can get to school and they're socialized and they know their letters and have an opportunity to be competitive in school when they start. The research is real clear. Research says that when you help kids get an early start, they are more likely to pass through to third grade and go all the way through high school education, own their own homes, and go on to other career activities. So I'd rather front-end load the system and help those kids from pre-K on so that they're ready by third grade and they can read, because after third grade, they read to learn. Thank you.
Sure. I opposed when we voted that out. I voted against that. I think, number one, that's the way we benchmark. We need to make sure that if our kids are in third grade, that they need to make sure that they pass that test and they can read at that grade. If not, we hold them back. We talk about front loading. We've given a lot of opportunities, and what we've done with preschool for all is we have actually killed our daycare system for the 3-year-olds and below. I was knocking on a door the other day, and the lady told me, where do you sit on daycares? And I told her I'd worked on the Tri-Share program and I'm very supportive. She goes, I have now lost my opportunity to fill my slots, and this is going to be my last year. And the 4 children that I have left will have to find something else. In most cases, that parent will either have to decide to leave work or undercover or underground daycare.
Thank you. Lois, next question, and Kurt will be the first answer.
All right, this is a question from the audience. How do you assess the impact of the opioid crisis on our county or our district, and what do you plan to do about it? And also, what are your thoughts on how the opioid settlement funds could be used?
Well, that's a great question. First off, I work very closely with our sheriff, and we have an opioid problem statewide. We have an issue that Mason County has suffered for a period of time. We have a great candidate for prosecuting attorney right now that is going to keep her finger on that, and bad people need to go to jail. But we need to continue to make sure that we advocate to give proper education, give the opportunity to make sure that somebody that is addicted can get off that. But we need to continue to support our law enforcement and those that are involved to make sure that the bad people that deliver these drugs in our communities go to jail.
Okay, Kathy?
I couldn't agree more. As someone who worked with law enforcement for 15 years, the prosecutors, the police chiefs, the sheriffs were my members statewide. And we do have a crisis, and the crisis is affecting our families. It affects our communities. People are losing their loved ones to opioid addiction. And it's not good enough to have other opportunities. It's better to start ahead of it and make sure that we're supporting families and helping families be supportive of their kids. So definitely opioid is a problem, and we can do more. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we go to Rob for the next question, I think, and Kathy will be the first answer.
Kind of similar topic. Should district court or circuit court judges have more or less discretion in sentencing defendants, or should that be left up to the legislature?
Sentencing guidelines are just guidelines, but sometimes they impede the decision-making of the judge, and if there is a jury involved also. We have more opportunity also at the front end with our prosecutors in plea bargaining, and that does happen as well, even before you go to court. So we have sentencing guidelines, but judges have told me they feel like their hands are tied when they have guidelines, that they necessarily have to follow those, and sometimes they're firm, more firm than necessary. It doesn't give anyone wiggle room for discretion and how to deal with the nuances in each and every case. And whether or not we have the services available on the local level to also help someone so that they can deal with family support in the local area rather than sending troubled youth or others outside of the community where they lack the family support. Thank you.
Kurt? That's a great question. It really comes down to this. The legislature has no business trying to dictate sentencing guidelines. And I know that it comes up on a regular basis in Lansing, and I've had to vote on some of those things, but it really does come down to who knows best. And the folks that are in those positions truly are the experts. Do I feel that sometimes we have to be involved to an extent, but very lightly? So I would say we need to make sure that our judges have that opportunity. They know these individuals in a lot of cases for years coming into different situations, and some of them might be regular violators, and they need to be able to make sure that they can use their judgment to make sure that that person's off the street.
Thank you. So the last question goes to Steve Rupa, and we'll start with Kurt.
All right. We're coming up on deer season. A ton of people in this district own guns, and not just long guns. So where do you stand on the new gun laws, and specifically the red flag laws that have been enacted, allowing police to seize guns from private gun owners?
Well, again, you bring up a great subject. As an active outdoor person, former hunter safety instructor, I really truly believe good people don't need to have laws to tell them what they need to do with their gun. The bad thing is a bad person's going to find that gun one way or another. And, you know, unfortunately, we put red flag laws in place. Again, we have a lot of cases where our sheriff, our law enforcement, our judges, our prosecutors, they have that opportunity to make sure that they can make that call earlier, and they truly should. But when we start putting it in the judgment of a family member or somebody else that calls, it can be, the discretion could be something of being vindictive, and I disagree with that.
Kathy?
I have a real strong position on gun safety, and it's not gun control, it is gun safety. As someone who grew up hunting, I respect my firearms, and I also know that most hunters and fishers respect the recreation that we have and the ability that we have to be responsible gun owners and to use our guns properly and appropriately. So I do have I support the gun safety legislation package that was passed last year and signed into law. We have an issue. Today, we see more of our kids killed by firearms than we did when I was in school. When I was in school, my colleagues and I, we saw kids killed by automobile accidents. That is not the case today. This gun safety package does not affect any responsible gun owner. It does not have adverse effects on hunters. It is there to protect the safety of our children, and I will fight tooth and nail to ensure that we keep the gun safety laws and the red flag laws in Michigan.
Thank you.
We now go to 1 minute closings, and we start with Kathy.
I would just like to say I've been an advocate for people all of my life. My wheelhouse is the same as it was when I started my school in younger years in school, high school, college, and after college. I've been there to advocate for the best investments in people for the common good. I've worked for a state senator, for a U.S. senator, many of you know him, Carl Levin, and also a member of Congress. Never did I ask anyone to take a political litmus test before I offered services. Services might be for working to figure something out, a problem with the bureaucracy, and it might be having to amend a state law that's on the books. As your state representative, one of the things I will take with me to Lansing is that I will look at the redundancies on the books and help to modernize the legislation and the laws that affect us as business people, as neighbors, as family members, and community members. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Again, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here this evening, and I hope we did answer some questions. As you can see, there is a difference. But I really, truly will say this, and for anybody that knows me, it's all about the relationship. I've worked very hard for the district. I've been able to work on both sides of the aisle to get some unbelievable legislation passed that will make a huge difference here in the state of Michigan when it comes to pharmaceutical drugs, when it comes to your visits and pre-authorization. And I will tell you, it's exciting when you can do that. Also, if we look at just a couple of the things that are happening here in Mason County, 3 years I've worked to get funding to make sure that our car ferry can switch from coal to a different alternative fuel. Exciting to say that we were able to do that under the current situations that we have in Lansing. Also, the funding to make sure that the bridge in Hamlin was safe because it didn't fall under the current rules that were set in place. So I want to continue to do these things to make sure that we take care of the 102nd, make sure that our farming community is taken care of, make sure that each and every one of you have your children that they can grow up and stay in the community with a great job, And I look forward to continuing that, and I hope you will support me on November 5. Thank you.
Thank you,
Our last session of the night is with U.S. House Representatives, 2nd Congressional District, and the candidates are Michael Lynch and John Molinar. As they come up, the 2nd Congressional District is a sprawling district if you haven't ever looked at the map. It's pretty darn big. And so, same rules, alphabetical order, 2-minute openings, and we'll start with Mr. Lynch.
My name is Michael Lynch, and I'm running for the U.S. Congress for Michigan's 2nd Congressional District. I'm passionate about Michigan because of its natural beauty, economic potential, and the strong sense of community amongst its people. Michiganders are hardworking, resilient, and always willing to lend a hand to their neighbors. However, Mid-Michigan faces challenges that need to be addressed, like reliable, affordable health care, child care, and housing. We also need to create more good-paying jobs to ensure that our communities thrive. Our veterans and active duty personnel deserve better, with respect, services, and support for their transitions to civilian life. If given the opportunity to serve, my top priorities will be supporting families with reliable health care and strong public education, revitalizing rural communities by making housing more affordable, and by helping to create entrepreneurial opportunities. We need to expand broadband internet access and ensure that women have the freedom to make their own health care choices. My commitment to families, farms, and freedom is unwavering. Transparency in government is essential, and I will always fight against misinformation and any attempts to undermine our democratic elections. I'll be honest and transparent because the people of Mid-Michigan deserve leadership that respects them. So I hope Mid-Michigan will support me, Michael Lynch, for U.S. Congress this November. We need leaders who are going to roll up their sleeves and work across the aisle to deliver cost savings to people and to improve the quality of life of the citizens of Mid-Michigan. We need leaders that are going to unite us, not divide us.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and I want to thank the Chamber Alliance, Mason County for hosting us tonight, and also West Shore Community College for having us here, and also the panelists and the moderator for putting this together, and also my fellow candidate for being here tonight. I want to thank all of you for being part of this discussion as well. My name is John Molinar, and I serve as the representative for the 2nd Congressional District. And just a little bit about myself is, my wife and I, Amy is her name, we've raised 6 kids together. We have 2 grandkids and 1 on the way, so we're very excited about that. I have a long experience in both the public and private sector. I started off as a chemist, worked in business development. I've also been a school administrator, served in state and local government, and now serve in Congress. In Congress, I serve on the Appropriations Committee. I also chair the Strategic Competition with the Chinese Communist Party. It's a select committee devoted to helping us win this competition, very bipartisan committee. The reason I'm running is simply this. I believe we're headed in the wrong direction right now as a country. And I believe the Biden-Harris and the Democratic policies have contributed largely to that, whether it's out of control spending, and taxation, which has driven up inflation, people trying to get their groceries, their gas, you name it, inflation's out of control. An open southern border, which has brought fentanyl, drug trafficking, millions of people across the border, and it's kind of erasing the whole concept of citizenship. And then also, when you think about the future of our country, we have to win this strategic competition with China. And that's why I'm proud to be in this role. We have a lot of work ahead of us, and I look forward to our discussion tonight, and I'm here to ask for your support.
Thank you. Questions will open with one from Rob, and Michael Lynch will go first. Rob.
Mason County seems to be on the edge of your district. How will you work to be more accessible to our local citizens and more visible to your constituents here?
Well, I'll be honest with you, I'm very pleased to introduce myself to a number of people here, but I see friends in the audience. Last night, I was in, I had dinner at Old Brothers in Montague. I left there to go to Kent County. I followed that with a visit to Berry County, and ultimately ended up in Gratiot County. Today, I spent a lunch holding a joint session with Alyssa Slotkin and I am very proudly here tonight. I believe that I need to listen to my constituency, I need to hear from them, I need to understand their concerns. I'll be honest with you, there are 20 counties in this district, and not every part of this district has the same concerns, has the same issues. And one needs to listen specifically to every individual district, every part of the district, to really understand their needs and really just know your people, know your constituency. That's it. Thank you.
Well, let me just first say it's a privilege to represent Mason County. I've benefited from getting to know Sheriff Kim Cole, talking with him extensively about how to make sure we keep this community safe as well as secure our southern border, and he's been a tremendous leader on that. I also talk with small businesses who talk about the challenges they face. I've been an advocate for the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, which is something that benefits all of us as Michiganders. I'm currently working on funding for a new building for the Road Commission. These are things that I've learned about by listening to constituents and hearing about the needs in the community. My office is a hardworking group of people. We do regular office hours in Mason County, and we're going to continue to do that, to reach out, listen. I've benefited from listening to agricultural leaders, and I hope we get a chance to talk a little bit more about that as well.
Okay, thank you. Next question will go to Steve, and we'll start with Representative Mullen, our first answer.
All right. Congressman, Mr. Trump has said that we need to raise tariffs on foreign companies, and he says by doing that, they'll decide, hey, well, we'll build in America, and that'll save us money. Where do you stand on that? Do you agree with him?
Well, first of all, President Trump has made different proposals on tariffs. The way that process will work is, every candidate, every person can have a perspective on that, and to actually enact it into law, you have to have Congress, both the House and the Senate, working together with the President. One area where I would say that it is very important that we redesign our trade relationship is with China. And our committee has published a report that would actually create a unique tariff with respect to China, because quite frankly, years ago, a couple of decades ago, we gave them permanent normal trade relations status. They violated every possible rule. They continue to subsidize and cheat on things, and it's going to drive our businesses out of business. So I think that's a starting point. And incidentally, the Biden administration has kept the tariffs in place that the Trump administration had. So I think that's something that we need to work through as the Congress as well as the President.
Thank you. Michael?
Across the board, tariffs are a mistake. They don't work for the people, and they don't work for our government. This has been proven time and time again. When you expand tariffs, this can lead to trade wars. There are certain products that we will never make again in the United States. Right now, we have a 100% tariff on electric vehicles coming in from China. Canada just put a 100% tariff on not only Chinese-built BYD cars, but also Chinese-made Tesla cars. However, we cannot afford a trade war with countries. We need to use tariffs to support and to protect our industries in the United States. However, I would hate to see our agriculture industry suffer due to excessive tariffs on products. I can tell you one thing is that there were excessive tariffs on a number of products coming out of Europe, and this drove up the price for many small business owners, and they were unable to continue to sell those products in their stores. And these are unique products that are not made in the United States.
Thank you. Next question goes to Lois, and we'll start with Michael for the first answer.
Much of the time when we talk about economic development, we're talking about attracting big businesses or big manufacturers. But what about the small business owners? What can be done to support and encourage that segment of economic development?
Small business is the most important part of our economy. It is not only where most of the growth in employment comes from, it's also where innovation comes from. I agree with the Harris policy of offering tax incentives to entrepreneurs. Currently, I work for the Saginaw Chippewa Tribe of Michigan, and I'm also going to work to get to fashion incentives for tribal members who want to open up their own business. Right now, I see many, as I drive through the towns of the 2nd Congressional District, I see many storefronts that are closed. If given the opportunity, we need to reopen those storefronts and give people a chance to open those. But when we talk about small business, we're also talking about things like plumbing businesses and contracting businesses and things like that. And I would like to see, again, opportunities to have people be able to move away from working in a corporate environment to be able to open their own business if they so choose.
Thank you. John?
Well, small business is the backbone of our economy. It provides the most jobs. It's vital for the survival, especially of our rural communities. And one key area is agribusiness, and whether it's agriculture or the supplies that go into agriculture. And right now that is under very serious threat because of government mandates. Right now a lot of the labor for our farmers comes through the H-2A visa process, where foreign workers come in and harvest crops, fruit, vegetables. And there's a Department of Labor mandate that mandates wage increases for the last 10 years that actually is threatening to put 4th and 5th generation family farms out of business. And what that will do is put pressure on all the different businesses in the local economy. And so we need to fight back against these government mandates that are threatening the survival of our small businesses.
Okay, next question goes to Rob, and Representative Muller answers first.
Where do you stand on the waters of the United States?
Well, first of all, I think the waters of the United States has been a vast overreach of the EPA, and we've seen various versions of that. What we've seen is that the EPA is in a position of regulating the water on farmers' property. That is not the role of the EPA. And so I certainly believe that we need strong environmental policies that are clear guidelines, whether someone's developing or someone's in agriculture. But this idea of micromanaging, I think, is a disaster for Michigan, and I oppose the Biden administration's regulations as well as the Obama regulations. And we heard time and time again from water users across the country how punitive this was, and it doesn't accomplish the goal. And that's the main thing. We should be having clear, common sense regulations that actually achieve the goals set out for them.
Thank you. Michael?
Water is so important to the Michigan economy, not only from an economic driver, tourism driver, but also quality of life. I live on the Pine River. Right now, if I'm going to go fishing in the Pine River, I have to bring hand sanitizer with me just to clean the E. coli that I receive from the fishing line. I cannot kayak in the river that's in my backyard. I cannot boat in the river that's in my backyard. We need to clean up our waterways. Right now, there are beaches that have been closed in Lake Michigan and also in Saginaw Bay. And these waters are coming from our rivers. We need to clean up the rivers. We need to realize how important water is to being an economic driver. We also need to look closely at the laws associated with septic tanks, because much of the runoff comes from septic tanks. And finally, I am a huge supporter of farms and ranchers. However, there might need to be further regulation, particularly on foreign-owned farms, to make sure that they are not polluting our waters.
So if I'm not lost, the questions are it's been a long night so far, but I think we're up to Steve next.
Yeah.
And Michael Lynch will answer first.
All right. You know, just as a follow-up almost, you were talking about water. We've had a lot of droughts out west the last few years, and there's been a big push to divert Great Lakes waters their way. Is that a good idea?
No.
No.
No. Water and waterways are so important to Michigan and also the upper Midwest from a recreational point of view, from a quality of life point of view, from an economic driver point of view. I will tell you that the pond in my backyard is very low right now, and I would love to see some rain to fill it up. So we cannot afford to allow our water to be going someplace else. There are news and there are studies right now that suggest that a number of people might be moving to the upper Midwest based on the changes in climate, because they think that Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin are going to be much safer places to be than, let's say, coastal communities. Again, our water is much too important to give away. Just like our land is much too important to have waste coming from a train wreck in Ohio. It's much too important to be storing nuclear refuse.
Representative?
Yeah, I would just say in Michigan we have 20% of the world's fresh water, 80% of the country's fresh water. That's why I'm such a strong supporter of the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative and worked in a bipartisan way with our Democratic senators on this. We'll continue to do that. I think, when I was in the state legislature, we worked at making sure that there was a collaboration with all the Great Lakes states and an agreement that kept it from being a federal takeover opportunity, but an agreement between the states and the Canadian provinces to make sure we protect our water and don't allow those kind of diversions.
Thank you. And for a moment, I thought we were going to get away with 2 one-word answers.
We were close.
We were very close. Yeah. Last question tonight, and we will start with Lois, and Representative Molinar will answer first.
There's been a lot of discussion about age of leadership. How would you encourage young adults to become more involved in the political process? What are some of the programs or initiatives that you would recommend for them?
Well, that's a great question. Thank you for that. I spent time speaking with high school students, college students. We have internship programs, job shadow opportunities. I think it's great that young people can volunteer on a campaign and be involved in that way, attending different meetings. To me, that's our future. And if there's one thing that I would want to share with the next generation is the benefit that we have living here as Americans, the amazing foundation that we have when you read our founding documents and the freedoms that we enjoy, and how important it is that we preserve this for this generation and the future generations. We've God-given liberties, and government's job is to secure those liberties for all of our benefit, for our quality of life, and that's what I would want for the next generation.
2 days ago, I spent the entire day talking to 2 American government classes at Whitehall High School. I've been very lucky to spend 25 years teaching part-time at the university level. In that time, it was very enriching and very educational on my part. That I got older, but they all stayed the same age, year on year and year and year and year. And I got to hear what their concerns were, what their interests were, etc. The first campaign I worked on, I was 17 years old. The first initiative I worked on with the Native American tribe, again, was 17 years old. It's part of it is letting them know that their future really is going to be driven by what they do now and how they invest their time now, and convince them that this is important, and that their initiatives, that one person can make a difference, that your vote does matter, your vote does count, and you can make a difference. You can go out there and change the world with just a single voice.
Thank you. So we now go to the closing statements. And alphabetical order, Michael Lynch first, 1 minute.
Okay, thank you. My dad was an Air Force officer. My mother was a Marine. So those of you who think you had a regimented childhood, I'll put mine up against you. First thing I want to do if elected to Congress is to, I'm already started working on this project, is working with the quality of life of our, not only our veterans, but also our active duty military. Right now, the suicide rate among active duty military is higher than it's been in years, and there are any number of active duty military who are complaining about their living arrangements. I think one has to have a real understanding of what rural life is about. I have lived in many rural areas, and I've lived in big cities also. And I understand what it's like to work in an apple orchard. I understand what it's like to walk down pacers and trotters after they've been training all day. I know what it's like to work in cornfields. I know what it's like to live in a small town that really is driven by the revenue that comes from our farmers and how that income, how that economy is driven bottom up. So I think you're looking for somebody who, again, cares an awful lot, but is going to take care of the communities, take care of all the communities, not just certain areas.
Thank you. Representative Mullen.
Well, thank you very much. And again, I want to thank everybody for their participation tonight, especially those who are running for office and came up and spoke earlier. I have tremendous respect for people who are engaged in the process. And, I just want to say these kind of discussions are how I learn. When you hear the questions, when you hear people's ideas, to me that makes me a better legislature. So thank you for that. I got in this business because I wanted to help people. And public service is a way to do that. I kind of responded to the John F. Kennedy line of thinking of ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And so that's what got me thinking about serving in public service. But I'll tell you, we have a lot at stake in this election. We have a very big challenge to decide which way this country will go. Will we have higher inflation? Will we have an open border and erase the concept of citizenship? Will we win this competition with China? And I ask for your support to help make progress on those issues and win. And again, I want to thank you. My name is John Molinar, and I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Molinar. Thank you, all the candidates tonight, our sponsors, the Chamber Alliance for Mason County, and with their help from Ludington Daily News, Mason County Press, and Synergy Media, panelists Rob Holloway, Lois Tomachewski, and Steve Ruba, especially our timer, Kristen Smith, who's looked at a time way too long tonight. And West Shore Community College, thank you for hosting us, and really thank you all for hanging in here. It's been a long evening, but I hope it was